The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Dan Moylan. Michael Normanson's here as well, and Dean Smith, as we bring you another one of the summer updates. Football, is it coming on?
Huge, as I've been saying all summer, I live for England, and I'm a huge England fan. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
We'll get into that in just a second or two. A quick reminder, levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball for a 10% discount on your legal fees. If you've got legal services you need, such as, I don't know, can you think of any?
Residential property disputes.
You almost said that correctly, didn't you?
Almost. Yeah. Personal injury, if you've got wills, probate and conveyancing, if you've got dispute resolution, if you've got residential conveyancing.
So this is basically a man reading out a website, which is just, it's just glorious.
I might say conveyancing twice too, but you can't overstate it enough, can you?
It's very, very important, isn't it? Especially if you move in-house. levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball for full details on that. And into it then, and we have no Bielsa in the Copa final, but we do have England getting into the final. What a strange... Should we start with England? Because that's been quite strange, hasn't it? From an English point of view, in that they sort of suddenly sprung to life and almost just find themselves in a final of a European competition. And it was a pretty good game, wasn't it?
It was in the end. And can I shock you, boys? I like Ollie Watkins, based on last night. Take his diving away from what happened at Elland Road all those years ago. But to have a striker in the box, turning and shooting, felt like a very novel idea last night.
And he was nearly in the building, wasn't he, for us? And not quite.
He was.
We got Plodrigo instead.
There was sense to it at the time, because that was the main thing people were talking about. It felt like last night on my very limited echo chamber Twitter that I've curated for myself. People going, God, we could have had him. Instead we got Rodrigo.
But it's always the other though, isn't it? It's the grass is always greener principle.
At the time, he was Spain's number 9, wasn't he? And it felt like, well, we could gamble on this guy out of the Championship, or you can just get someone who plays up front for a really good team. And we went with that. And then he was fine, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But
not a bad player, but he's
now quite old, isn't he? And Ollie Watkins is in his prime.
Yeah.
I was saying to Michael before we were recording, in an alternate universe, that goal last night is scored by Patrick Bamford, having broken into the England team, stayed in the Premier League, maybe not on his right foot, turning the way he did. But then in a different alternative universe, Ollie Watkins is a Leeds player, and we're over the moon today because Leeds has taken England into the final. As it is, none of those things happened.
Yeah. We'd have dragged him down to our level. He wouldn't be playing for England. We'd have killed those dreams of his.
Elland Road, where dreams go to die.
He'd be looking at a loan to Barnsley this season before he'd have signed him.
But it was an entertaining game, wasn't it? I think even speaking to like neutrals who said it was like a dead good game, which like Spain-France was on Tuesday. Then last night Netherlands won England 2. The ball hit the net bang on 90, didn't it? That was nice. That was quite entertaining, and it went through the defender's legs. So there was a lot to enjoy from like a football spectacle point of view.
It was almost a shame that football doesn't have like a buzzer, because you'd
like
hear
in rugby,
or in basketball, you get the and then the ball hits the net, and that's the end. There's no more minutes to play. But no, it was good, and I thought England actually, for the first time in this tournament, played. I think you would say well.
Yeah,
there were bits where it wasn't as good, but you get those in games. But there was for the majority of it, I thought we deserved it.
Yeah, you have to grow in tournaments. This is what we keep being told. And I think after the first few games, we needed to do a lot of growing. But certainly based on that first half performance, I said on the show on Tuesday that I'm basically unmoved when England score. But last night there was some movement. I won't tell you where, but there was movement.
As long as you felt movement, it still works. That's the important thing.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's a textbook example of lowering expectations, isn't it? Which I think brings me
something you've tried to do all your life.
I was going to say it reminds me of your time at ITV towards the end, Michael. Just bring that threshold lower and lower and lower, and then over deliver just by a tiny amount, and it looks like you're doing well.
That's the thing. You got to peak. I was discussing this because my kids got their SATs results yesterday, discussing mocks and stuff with my wife, and she was saying how, talking about A levels, she'd done much better in all of her mocks than she did in her actual A levels. She was one of them she was disappointed with and stuff. And I was like, you peak too soon. You want to do nothing for your mocks, and then you just need to get yourself fit for the right point.
Yeah, it's like, you do a lot of like long distance running, don't you? You do marathons, which sounds like an absolutely ridiculous pursuit. You were talking in the office before about doing one in Uganda, which feels like a long way to go put yourself through pain. But when you're marathon training, you don't do 26 miles, do you? You'll stop at like 20, 21 or something?
Yeah, you save it for
I know that, obviously, I know that from your own
experience, of course.
Deep experience.
You've done the Uganda marathon, so that's, No, I think with marathon training, you wait until race day to really give it your all, hoping that the training kicks in at the right time. And maybe that's what we're seeing with England, dare we say. And I think one of the nice things is that the country seems now to have turned slightly on the Gareth Southgate narrative, because the substitutions he made yesterday worked. So even though they were later than maybe 90% of the country would have made, you can't argue with Palmer into Watkins 2-1.
No, it worked.
I think the Tony on in the 93rd minute, I think, was the one that got most people, because it's like there was literally no time for anything to happen here. Turns out there was, because we did score. But the thing with Southgate, he's obviously got England to loads of semis and finals, which is really good. I still don't think he's very good. Like if he was turning up at Leeds, I'd feel a bit disappointed, which is mad, because he could potentially win the Euros for England. But then if he was to rock up at Leeds the week after, I'd be a bit like,
But this is where it's because it exists in a sphere that we don't understand. Like, we as fans,
speak for yourself.
We as fans, we turn up and watch the games, don't we? And we scream and shout or whatever from the terraces, from the seats. But we don't know what's happened on the training ground. We don't know what it's like behind closed doors. We don't know what the dynamic is like between players and coach, and whether him just creating the right environment for it can make them thrive, or whether it puts limitations on them. It's unknowable, isn't it? It's because that's a different space to the one that we occupy. And I suppose that's where, that's it. You get a lot of fan opinion of people trying to pick it apart and having their say. But really, I suppose it's a bit like a Venn diagram, isn't it? We just get to see the bit in the middle.
But it all comes back, I think, to what Bielsa was saying the other day, that football should be entertaining because it is enriching for people who don't have much riches in their life. And so much of the football that we're seeing from England has not been enriching for anybody.
Yeah,
so
I'm from Bradford. That's all I want.
Yeah,
just a little bit of richness.
There you go. And maybe we had that in the first half yesterday, but I think that's where maybe an element of lingering resentment has come from this England tournament so far. But maybe they're turning a corner. And listen, if we win on Sunday, I'll be the first on the table with my shirt off, because I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm fully prepared to get on board with celebrating it.
3 lions, tattoos, and all that.
Yeah, bulldogs.
Yeah,
the traditional flare up the arse as well to celebrate. Are you gonna
every day?
Yeah, is that how you start the day? Is that one of your non-negotiables?
Every day. Yeah, it's that. I have my
up at 5 a.m.
Up at 5, athletic greens. Yeah. Flare in the anus. Off we go.
No comfy chairs. No comfy chairs for you.
So they can't use a comfy chair after they'll flare up the anus, can you? Speaking of Bielsa, so last night, overnight, early morning, this morning, was Uruguay 0, Colombia 1, which is a bit of a shame, but it does set up the tantalising prospect of Bielsa versus Marsch in the third place playoff in Copa America. And just, if you didn't see any of the footage, it's been doing the rounds. Uruguay players in the stands afterwards, scrapping, absolutely mad. There was a red card in there. I think in that classic kind of Bielsa way, they had a man up, didn't they, for 45 minutes and just couldn't find that breakthrough against Colombia.
I'm a bit scared of the third place playoff because I never want the proof that there is anything other than Bielsa as the answer to any question. And so if for whatever reason Marsch and Canada find a way to beat them, I might just go underground for 20 years.
It's a bit like how Monk used to beat Bielsa. You're like, but it's not fair. Yeah. He's not. I know he's not as good. So how is he getting away with this? I think the thing with the third place game as well is that I feel like Canada could win it because it's a weird thing, isn't it, the third place?
Yeah, because no one gives a shit. You change all the players. No one wants to be there.
It's stupid, isn't it? Yeah. It feels like an idea designed by someone who doesn't know anything about football. Like someone who's come from like athletics or golf or something has gone, oh, you need to know who's third.
Yeah, you need the bronze medal.
You're like, but why? Yeah. Third place is nothing in football. It's absolutely nowhere to be seen. In no other tournament, you don't go, oh, we need to know him third in the FA Cup.
Well, I was going to say, as Billy Bremner once said, you get note for coming second, so third means fuck all. Yeah. Paraphrasing.
Yeah, unless you're in the Premier League and then third or fourth are the same as a trophy, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think they should just not bother playing this. Just give it to Bielsa on historical grounds.
So Jesse's Canada lost 2-0 to Argentina. Did you see the spat with Rodrigo de Paul, where Rodrigo de Paul was rolling around and started shushing Jesse, and Jesse's giving it a little bit back? I got all like Will Smith at the Oscars at that point. Take my wife's name out of your mouth.
And
Were you in his DMs, in Rodrigo de Paul's DMs, just giving him some advice on how to deal with
Truthfully,
it?
we've gone our separate ways since that one passionate night in 2021-ish, whenever it was.
I can't remember. Was it end of the first Premier League season?
It must have been around that time. Yeah. Which, if you don't know the reference here, it's just that he replied to a tweet. I was just trailing a line in the water to see if he was going to sign for Leeds, and I replied to somebody saying something along the lines of apparently personal terms have been agreed. They just need to sort it out between the clubs. And he replied with the praying hands emoji. I was like, oh, and the phone just went absolutely nuts.
He shouldn't have done that, really, should he?
No.
It's quite unprofessional.
Yeah.
But also, speaking of unprofessional, it was nice to see...
but it has given rise to a joke that we've been able to rinse for absolutely years since.
Yeah, fair enough. It was nice to see Click in the post as well with on Instagram of Jesse being shushed.
Yeah.
Kind of reveals a little bit of something, doesn't it?
Just that little glimpse behind the curtain, isn't it? It gives you actually a peek into that little sphere that we don't get access to, the one that they don't normally break the sort of outer shell of that, do they?
I don't think Click hid it particularly well that he didn't like Jesse.
I was going to say, I love how openly disparaging Click is about Marsch. There was a question on Click's Instagram not long after he'd left, which was, who do you prefer, Bielsa or Marsch? And he just replied with, tough one. It is clear as day.
Read between the lines.
Yeah.
Read between the lines. We've not talked about the dreadful assault on Harry Kane anyway.
Oh, goodness.
That led to that penalty. Sickening scenes. Were your children watching that?
No. I could see it was getting a bit heated out there, so I ushered him out of the room at that point.
It's good how he rolled around until VAR had to look at it.
Yeah.
He's such a good cheat, is Harry Kane, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's really excellent at winning stuff. Because I know there are arguments to say, elsewhere on the pitch that's a free kick, but in the box it never is. So you have to accept there is a separate unwritten penalty box set of rules in football. Like, it's just certain things that you can get away with in there that you don't elsewhere. And I think I'm going to bring back my campaign for a really small penalty box that I've been saying for ages. Too much stuff's a penalty.
Because we were talking before, weren't we? I think because it was an extra ball show way back when, years back, where we fixed football's rules, didn't we? There'll be somewhere on the feed if you want to go back and find it if you remember. And I think we decided that the penalty area would be like a hockey style one.
Yeah, just a little arc from the goal.
Yeah, so it'd be like a five-a-side style one actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'd make it much fairer.
Did we decide if the keeper wasn't allowed out of it or the keeper had to stay in it?
It might make it more interesting if the keeper had to use his feet more.
Right.
So you could come out for a cross, but you have to go feet first.
I thought you were going to say that the keeper couldn't go into the box.
That could work too.
A bit of chaos ball.
Yeah. But anyway, so what's your proposal for it? It is an arc of a...
Make it little because Harry Kane needs to be stopped, apart from when he's playing for England.
Okay.
Did you see what Kane said after the game, though? One of the ITV pundits was asking him the question about the penalty. And he said, well, my foot's hanging off, were his words, as if it had been booted clean off.
It might have hurt because he did kick the bottom of the other guy's studs, didn't he, effectively? So it might have hurt a bit, but yeah, I did enjoy the... It was the Leeds fan, Christina Uncle, wasn't it? In the Peter Walton position of being the referee who had to swiftly backpedal, going, yeah, they're not going to look at that. They're looking at it. Right, cool. I agree with that too.
Yeah, a strange one. It was I haven't seen anybody who thinks it was a penalty, but I've seen lots of people
I've seen a couple of people who've defended it, saying, yeah, if that's a defender, and it is true, you can picture the scene of a defender clearing the ball as an attacker gets there, trying to block the clearance and they catch him, and that is always a free kick. Picture Luke Ayling in the Harry Kane role, but he's clearing it and he gets caught and he goes down. Yeah. Always a free kick.
Yeah, no, fair point. Yeah.
That is always a free kick.
And let's not forget he got a yellow for it as well, didn't he? So dangerous play.
Disgusting. On
to more domestic matters, however, more pressing matters. We've got Elland Road, we've got ticket prices, we've got a new website for Leeds United. It's exciting, isn't it? It looks good, I have to say. The old the website, far better than it did before. All those angles were a little bit, they felt difficult to manage.
I always found the Leeds website was just difficult to find basic information on it. You just want to look at fixtures or something. And it was always a bit like hidden. I feel like it should be front and centre, some stuff.
Like 3 menus deep or whatever.
Yeah. But it needs. Does anyone even use the Leeds United website much anymore?
Yeah, that's how you buy your tickets, Michael.
That's the ticket site, though. That actually does exist separately, doesn't it? You go into it and you click tickets and it goes, that's over here.
Separate little subdomain, yeah. But no,
I think there was some talk about trying to pull everything together at some point. So there's I
think, they are going for single sign-on, aren't they? So if you want to buy tickets and buy stuff in the shop, it'll all use your same user log on, which would be a step forward, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it would make sense if you could. Yeah, you don't have to remember different passwords for different bits of it.
And on your account history, it would be has bought shirt in sale.
£20.
£20. Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, the news came out in the last couple of days about Elland Road now being fully back in the club's hands. But the transfer seemed to have happened in March. I don't know if they're just trying to fill a bit of a fallow period for news by releasing this information now, or whether something's happened that means that they want to make it clear that the Red Bull Arena has passed back into the club's hands. I don't know.
That is a strange one.
It's possibly softening the blow with the slight ticket increases, the ticket price increases, just to kind of divert attention away, saying, look, you're paying a little bit more money, but it's ours now, so we can start to maybe get spades in the ground soon, because it is part of Leeds United Football Club again.
Yeah, true. Might be. So the change that has happened, for anybody who doesn't care enough to read the details on it, is that the limited company that bought it back, which was Greenfield, which was one of Radrizzani's companies, an AC company, wasn't it? So it was owned outside the club. So that, as part of the buyout, the 49ers bought that company, or they moved into like Elland Road Limited, didn't they? So that company now exists under Leeds United rather than just being a separate little island on its own. So it is all neatly boxed off with a ribbon around it.
It does feel better to have it in the same company, but then equally,
that's what Kinnear said, wasn't it? Like symbolically, it matters to fans.
But then equally, because they own that company, if they want to move it out again, they can also do that, and no one can really do anything about it. They'll just shuffle it around as they see fit. Just sell it back to someone else for a profit, to then buy it back to sell it, and just keep that PSR churn going. That seems to be one option on it. But I don't know what this is for. But I have noticed, I did have a little walk up past Elland Road. They are still cleaning and painting it, which makes me hope. I can't see what's going on inside, but they were pressure washing the east stand, and they've had some bits of like undercoat on it, and then they're painting that white over bits of rust and stuff. They were pressure washing the cheese wedge kind of area today when I went round. I was like, maybe they're actually maybe someone has just walked around it and gone, that's covered in moss, that's rusty, just like basic stuff. That ceiling tile's got a big hole in it. Hopefully, it might be a little bit spruced up for the next season.
What about the creche?
The creche, I think those children remain tethered there. They were the ones doing the pressure washing. They'd got them working.
Well, the creche, if nobody saw the pictures that we're referring to, it had the sort of abandoned Chernobyl vibe about it, didn't it? When the pictures were doing the rounds, like especially because that creche was kind of set behind one of the gates, so you could almost look through vertical bars to see the sad plastic toys just laying there.
It looked sinister.
Yeah,
it looked like behind the scenes from The Last of Us.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, those children are they know no better, do they? That's the thing.
They were born into that.
If they were released into the wild, who knows what would become of them? It's better that they stay in that creche.
As you touched on there, Dean, ticket prices have gone fractionally up for category A. The thing that we picked up on very late in the show on Tuesday was the flat price for away fans, regardless of category. It's 30 quid for adults, concessions slightly less. A good move, but it does highlight kind of how preposterous it is to be paying £49 now for a full price. That's the top line. Adult general admission headline price is £49 for East Central Lower, East Stand Upper, and West Stand. Feels like a lot of money. And I know, we're from Yorkshire. We complain about the price of things. That's what we do. Football fans always moan about the price of stuff going up. It's a lot of money in it. It's just a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I have to say, it's far too much. And I know ticket prices was something the regulator may look at, whether or not they actually can, because, I mean, it's expensive to go see Taylor Swift, isn't it?
Yes, it was, I'm sure, yeah.
I suppose it's an entertainment product, and they can effectively, as it stands, charge what they want.
But you're right, actually. I mean, I did look at like concert ticket prices for my wife to go see something. I went, I didn't realise they'd got to be that much, because it's a while since I've been.
Well, no, you've been to see musicals, haven't you? What are you talking for one of them?
Yeah, if you get in the stalls at a musical, you're talking upward of like 7. You could be talking nearly 100 quid, yeah.
But I suppose you don't go to them every week, probably.
No, or every second week anyway.
And generally, I suppose you leave there feeling it was all right, whereas the amount of time you spend 50 quid at Leeds and leave going, fucking hate this. What a shit day out.
Well, yeah, that's the point, isn't it? Like a trip to the theatre or a trip to a gig is a moment in your life, whereas Leeds United probably exists throughout season after season.
Yeah.
And if you're having to pay upwards of 40 quid every week if you don't have a season ticket, then that is a big expense, I would say. It's not like, going to see Taylor Swift at Anfield and spending a decent amount, because that's just probably just once. You're just going to experience that as a one-off entity. Whereas with Leeds United, we come back to what Bielsa said about football. It should be to enrich people's lives. And I sound very socialist today, but this doesn't appeal to that sensibility. I would argue.
Yeah, and the other side is like you could argue that the season ticket prices, by and large, are not that bad. You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know because they've not revealed like the comprehensive all round what everybody's paying, because there are disparities that they're trying to iron out. But it doesn't feel hideous value, does it? Whereas
I'm in the final year of my 20-year season ticket. I'm in for a very rude awakening next year. You know,
I was going to say, but like when it comes to like memberships and obtain, so you've got to get a membership to be able to obtain matchday tickets these days, and it is a supply and demand business. We can't ignore that, I suppose. You're paying 45 or 50 quid for the chance to buy a ticket at another 50 quid. Soon adds up, doesn't it, boys and girls?
Maybe we're suggesting just go see Taylor Swift instead.
Could do. I think it's just a reminder that these things, it's a delicate balance, isn't it? And you've got to be careful not to push it too far. Because we've seen Elland Road half empty before within living memory, because the product is shit and people get sad and miserable and drift away from it.
Yeah. If we can be good this season, it'll still sell out.
Yeah, absolutely sure it will.
So fine, but equally if we're 12th, I wouldn't expect it to sell out on a Tuesday night and it's 50 quid. People might just think, nah, I'm all right, I'll stay at home.
You know, that's the thing. There were times during this last season when it felt like a little bit of a mission to get those final tickets sold.
Yeah, well, they kept putting some on sale late because they were unsold corporates and things, didn't they? So it'd be that they'd be returned away tickets or they'd be East Upper tickets. And for a time, they were limiting them to members, but then they kind of slyly put some on general release, which I think they initially had indicated wouldn't happen, but then they weren't sold and it was 3 days to the game and they were like, well, it's kind of stupid to leave empty spaces when people do want these tickets, but you're trying to strong arm them into spending 70 quid on a membership.
I get the feeling that there will be very, very few games this season that aren't sellouts, especially if we're doing well or doing okay, because of what happened with clamour for tickets to the P word, to the playoff final. Because so many people fell underneath the games required. If people are on the fence, I think if they can afford it, they'll snap up tickets so that they tick over the 8-9 game mark, so that if the worst thing happens and we end up in that horrible place again, that they can secure tickets. And like we alluded to just then, when the football isn't good, people vote with the feet and don't turn up. But when the football is good, and hopefully it will be this year, we'll win an awful lot of games, then Elland Road will be full because they know they've got that captive market.
We're not dicking around with the playoffs again.
Absolutely not, no. It just sadness lies that way, doesn't it? Sadness and madness. Let's just go up, shall we?
Yeah.
Buy
some players first, though, probably.
I was going to say 30 days.
Have you got any
now.
transfer news?
Have I got any transfer news is a good question.
No.
And I'm answering that like a politician, buying myself time to think, because...
what I'm really here to talk about is the cleaning of the cheese wedge.
Yeah. And it's an important step forward as part of the overall, and so on and so forth. Yeah, there's nothing really happening at the minute. Why that is, we don't know. Are they waiting for people to bring in on loan? Are they waiting to move people out? Who knows?
All of our players are still in the Euros.
Right.
Playing for one of the semi-finalists, probably.
Because we've kind of been busy, I've not really kept track of when the pre-season friendlies are now. When are they? When do they start? Are they soon? When do we go? When do we all go to Germany? All thousands of us.
Yeah, when did none of us go? I think Harrogate is the first pre-season friendly, isn't it? Which I'm now frantically looking up because I also can't remember. It's the 19th of July.
So that is in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, next Friday.
Yeah, that's soon, isn't it? That is very soon. Man, wonder who we'll see. It'll be interesting in that sort of tight ground as well. Is that going to be a 21-side or is it full mashings?
It'll be, I imagine.
Because not everyone's going to be back in.
No, I was going to say, I imagine that'll be a bit of a mishmash of youngsters and a few senior players. But yeah, I think probably mainly a reserve team.
Right. Oh, interesting. Well, we shall see. If you are heading out to watch the Euros final, by the way, this weekend in Leeds, some bars we can recommend. If you go to thesquareball.net/pubs, you can get a list of places that we're recommending. For example, tell me about one of them, Michael, where you might like to go.
I've been to the Brood Nell. I've been there a few times. That's good.
We got some posters up in there, haven't we?
I've not seen them, but apparently so. I've heard talk of it. So
go get a snap of yourself next to it and tag us in it. Send it to us.
So we've been there. We did a live show there. We've done a live show at Project House. That's just kind of
Armley-ish.
It's kind of not far from like where the old Evening Post building used to be. If you know roughly that bit of town.
If you're familiar with the adult shop, Pulse and Cocktails,
yes,
as you come down the Armley Road, it's just behind that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you could pop in there, pick up a butt plug,
pick up all your bits and bobs. I was trying to I can't think when Mother's Day is. So I was going to make a joke, but is that already gone? I can't remember.
Anyway, go to Belgrave Music Hall, Hedgerow House, Beck and Call in Meanwood, thesquareball.net/pubs for a full list that we've got.
Pulseandcocktails.co.uk
that we recommend. And on that note, we'll wrap it up there. But we're back after the Euros final. I presume we'll be into next week before we
we'll come back. Should probably come back Monday, shouldn't we, to discuss that?
I imagine so. Yeah, so we've got that. And look out for the members show this weekend as well, which we're going to record in just a minute or two. I think we're going to get into some championship chat. That'll be exciting, won't it? Because we love the championship. Never mind those playoffs, eh? Some Bielsa daydreaming and delivering bad news as well. All to come on the member show this weekend. And we will catch up with you in a bit. See you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.